Hello fantasy managers, and welcome back for another video. My name's Jack, and today we're going to discuss our Matchday 1 World Cup fantasy team selection. As always, leave a like and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the World Cup related content, and look out for our Instagram and Twitter. The links to those are in the description down below. Also, please subscribe to our second channel, FPLflare. We're going to be posting more World Cup fantasy or more World Cup related and football related content over there. The links to that are in the description down below, and with that being said, let's jump into the video. So let's have a look at our Matchday 1 team. This is sort of a first draft, if you will. There's probably going to be changes to the team coming into the World Cup, but this is how it is currently shaping up. In goals, we have gone with Diogo Costa, the Portuguese keeper. He's got Ghana as his Matchday 1 fixture, and Portugal do have a relatively easy group. I would expect them to be topping their group, in fact. They also have Uruguay and South Korea, I believe, as their other two opponents in that group. I would see Portugal doing fairly well in this one, and hopefully they can get at least 2 clean sheets throughout the group stage. They have been playing it pretty well up until this point, and Diogo Costa has been in superb form as well personally, so hopefully he can perform well for them in this World Cup. So once again, hoping for at least 2 clean sheets. Probably not 3, that's a bit unrealistic, but at least 1 or 2 clean sheets throughout the group stage could prove quite nice. I do think Costa's a good pick at £5 million, as he does allow for a bigger defence, if you will, in the World Cup to be covered without having to pay as big a price as some of the other goalkeepers. Whether that be at the 5.5 million price tag, or if you wanted to pay 6 million for a keeper such as Lloris or even Alisson, that's big money to be spent on a goalkeeper. So I do think Costa checks off their Portuguese defence, which is a very strong defence, for a little bit cheaper than some of the other premium options in goals. Looking to the defenders, João Cancelo completes a Portuguese double up on defence. Obviously he's got Ghana as well, and as we touched on, Portugal do have a relatively easy group compared to some of the other groups in the World Cup, and hopefully they can perform pretty well, at least getting 2 clean sheets as we've touched on in the group stage or part of the tournament. And João Cancelo, as we know, for Man City, always gets forward. He gets those attacking returns quite frequently for Manchester City, so if he can do something similar for Portugal, that will be very preferable. Denzel Dumfries, one of my favourite picks to have in defence. He is such an attacking player for Netherlands. He gets very far up the pitch and he provides great attacking potential as well as good clean sheet potential as well. Netherlands do face Senegal in the first match in the group stage. They do have a couple of easier fixtures coming up outside of Senegal, but the main reason I've gone with Denzel Dumfries is obviously he's playing as more of a win-back role with how far he gets up the pitch. He produced lots of goals and assists in the Euros tournament in 2020 for Netherlands, and I'm hoping for some more of the same here in the World Cup. He's definitely one of the more attacking defenders that we have in our back four. Kieran Trippier, he's also a very good pick, should be nailed on to play for England in a wing-back sort of position, assuming that England do play the back 5 that people think they will play. He's got Iran in the first match, which is a great opportunity for a clean sheet for England, and as we've seen with Kieran Trippier, he's been able to produce lots of goals and assists for Newcastle in the Premier League so far this season, so if he can do something similar here for England, I would be very, very happy with that, and I would expect England as a team with Wales, USA, and Iran in their group to perform quite well, probably getting at least 2 clean sheets as well. I would expect that out of England, and Kieran Trippier always is going to be getting those starting minutes and could chip in with those attacking returns occasionally. And then to round out the defence, it is probably the best value defender, or one of the best value players, in fact, in World Cup fantasy, and Joachim Mail, I believe is how you say his name. He's got Tunisia as his first fixture, which is a superb one from a defensive perspective. Denmark, as they've shown in the past, are a very, very good national team. They play well together. They had a very good Euros tournament in 2020. A lot of belief in their side, and they were quite sound defensively as well. We saw Joachim Mail get very far forward in this tournament, and he produced quite a few attacking returns. Actually has an extremely high output of attacking returns for a defender, so for a player of just £4.5 million, gets very far up the pitch, has that chance of getting those attacking returns, and can always chip in with those clean sheets for Denmark. And they do have a relatively easy group outside of France, as Tunisia and Australia are a couple of the other opponents, so potentially just rotate him in and out of the squad when he is playing France and start him for Tunisia and Australia. So I do think this is 2 opportunities for him to get some good points hauls. Looking to the midfielders now, it is a fairly strong midfield. Kevin De Bruyne, I do think, is an essential player in World Cup fantasy, especially in midfield. He is probably clearly the best midfield option, the best premium midfield option as well. He's got Canada as his first fixture, which is a good chance for an attacking return for him. He does get pretty involved for Belgium in general, and we've seen him be very good with his goals and assists for Manchester City in the Premier League so far this season. So hopefully he can carry over some of this form to the international stage with a very, very good fixture in match day 1 for him to get more goals and assists. Definitely very conducive to this against Canada, and I am hoping for a big haul from De Bruyne. Jamal Musiala, another nice pick in the midfield. He's coming in at £8 million. I was tossing up between him and Leroy Sané, but I do prefer spending the 1 mil less on this German midfielder slot and looking to upgrade a couple of other positions. So that's why I've gone with Musiala. He's been in superb form for Bayern Munich so far this season and should have quite an attacking sort of role for Germany in the World Cup as well. And with Japan as their first fixture, a great chance for him to get on the score sheet, and a player that could prove to be quite a strong differential with around a 14% ownership at the minute. And then Steven Bergwijn, another decently popular pick with a similar ownership to Musiala. He has been in superb form for Ajax this season. He's been getting himself goals in the Eredivisie and Champions League, and he is playing quite attacking for Netherlands. Despite being positioned as a midfielder, he definitely is playing in a more forward role, so a good chance to capitalise on some extra scoring there for Steven Bergwijn. He's got Senegal in his first match, and hopefully he can get on the score sheet for Netherlands. So despite midfielders and forwards still scoring the same points for a goal, do expect Bergwijn to play more attacking. Even though he is positioned as a midfielder, he isn't sort of playing in that midfield position. He is definitely getting a lot far forward. So that is something to look out for him, and I think he could be a very nice differential pick as well, and a very affordable one at around £7 million in the World Cup fantasy system. Let's have a look at the forwards now. A very, very strong front three, and I do think a strong front three is necessary if you are playing World Cup fantasy, as there's so many good options in this position. The first one here is Lionel Messi. He's currently got our captain's armband. He's got Saudi Arabia as his first fixture, and I think it's a great opportunity for him to get his campaign kicked off. He's been in pretty decent form for PSG in the French league, and I am hoping this can carry over to the World Cup as well, and obviously that fixture against Saudi Arabia is a great chance to do so. He probably is my favourite forward option in a World Cup fantasy right now. That's why he has got the captain's armband as well. We've gone with Neymar. He has been absolutely superb for PSG as well in the Ligue 1, and he was very, very good for Brazil in the World Cup qualifiers. I believe he had 8 goals in 10 games in the World Cup qualifiers for Brazil, so in very, very good form there. Was one of the highest scorers in the World Cup CONMEBOL qualifiers, and he's got Serbia as his first fixture, so a great chance for him to get his tournament kicked off as well. He generally does do pretty well for Brazil at an international stage, so hopefully he can do this once again in the World Cup against Serbia. It's a great chance for a goal for himself. And then the third starting forward is definitely a bit of a differential one. It's Antoine Griezmann. He only has a 1% ownership right now in World Cup fantasy, but I do think in France's stronger side, Griezmann is sort of playing in that cam position. That was generally the position that he played when France had the biggest games in the World Cup qualifiers. They went with Mbappe and Benzema as their two strikers and Griezmann as their cam. That was sort of how they set up, and I do think Griezmann, it could be a very nice pick. I believe he had 6 goals in 8 games for France in the World Cup qualifiers. So he definitely gets on the score sheet, and he did provide quite a few assists as well to Mbappe and Benzema. So I do think he could be a very nice differential option that could potentially match the more expensive Benzema and Mbappe for France. Lautaro Martinez is another one to potentially offset Messi. If you don't have Messi in your team, Martinez could be a great way to tick off the Argentina attack, and for me, Griezmann is a great way to tick off that France attack, who obviously have Australia as their first fixture, which is a relatively easy one. Australia definitely one of the weaker teams in the World Cup, and I would expect France to do quite well in this one. And also with the potential that Nkunku could be out for France, it just increases Griezmann's chances of playing. He gets on the goals and assists for France as well, and I think he's a definitely good budget option compared to Benzema and Mbappe, who are two of the more expensive forwards in World Cup fantasy. Let's now have a look at the bench. Zach Steffen, he's coming in at £4 million, the minimum price for a goalkeeper. He's got Wales as his fixture and does remain on the bench instead of Diogo Costa. Benjamin Pavard does sit in the first bench position, and we are going to use our 12th man chip in matchday 1, which allows us to select one extra player that can play for us, and Benjamin Pavard is most likely going to be that guy. Tick off that France defence against Australia, and I would expect France to get a clean sheet in this fixture. Don't really see where Australia are going to get their goals from in this one, and Benjamin Pavard can get forward and provide those attacking returns, which he has shown in the past for France. So he's probably going to be our 12th man when we activate that chip, as I think he's a very, very good defender to have as well. De Paul, he's another player coming in at £5 million that could also prove to be a handy asset to have off the bench. If a player does blank, he can always step in place of them. He's more playing in a CDM role for Argentina, but players do get points for key passes and a couple of other actions in the midfield which you don't typically get points for. So it's not all about goals and assists this World Cup fantasy compared to some of the other more popular fantasy games such as FPL, where the main point source is goals and assists. Rodrigo de Paul can get points for a couple of other sources, and that's why he could prove to be quite a nice pick at £5 million. And then we have gone with Hatem from Qatar. He's coming in at just $4 million and is a nailed starter in their team. He did start in the majority of their games in the more recent international fixtures for Qatar, and I do think he's a very nice pick to have. He has produced 1 goal and I believe 4 or 5 assists, in fact, in the Qatari League this season. So not the most attacking-minded midfielder, but he can chip in with those attacking returns occasionally, and I do think he is a fairly nailed starter in that Qatar midfield. Thanks for watching our Matchday 1 team selection for World Cup Fantasy. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe to support the channel, and also click the notification bell to stay up to date with all of our recent World Cup content. It's going to be coming pretty thick and fast as we get closer and closer to the World Cup, and of course more content is going to be produced throughout the tournament as well, so look out for that. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.